August.
Sorry about that.
No worries. August 2025 business meeting is now called to order. All who are able, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now ask for a roll call. That was a forum.
President Meeks,
Here.
Vice President Cuneo,
Here.
Director Suda.
Here.
Director Sartorius.
Here.
Director Asner. Director Beaver.
Here.
Director Nelson.
Here.
Director Sartorius.
Here.
All twice.
Forum being present, welcome to the business meeting. Hey, we have public comments. Up to 30 minutes. Each meeting is set aside to hear public comments. Each comment is limited to 3 minutes to address any item that is legitimate part of the agenda of the board. Time limits are strictly observed and speakers are invited to the podium. We have,
Other than
we have a couple to be read. Before asking the secretary to read 3 public comments, I want to reshare that our SSD community, I apologize, with our SSD community, a brief timeline and board action as it relates to this issue. A board approved covering GLP-1 medications began April 1st of 2023 on the recommendation of our insurance broker, who at the time estimated the cost would be $110,000. In actuality, $10,000. In actuality, the cost for the first 12 months was 1.9 million. In October of last year, our broker recommended discontinuing coverage for the indication of weight loss. And at the time, the board elected to table the decision so we could hear from the community, research alternatives to discontinuing coverage, listen to experts in the field, and look at school district, employer and health system trends as it relates to whether or not other plans cover GLP-1s for weight loss. We heard many impassioned voices during our November meeting from users of medications who, for them, the benefit is undeniable. The board recognizes these health benefits and does not minimize the impact they have on their physical well-being. After collecting information, the board vigorously debated the pros and cons of discontinuing coverage, and at the June 24th business meeting voted 5-2 to stop covering GLP-1s for weight loss as of January 2025.
I am reading these 3 in the order that they were received. The first is from Aaron Kleiman. Hello, my name is Aaron Kleiman. I am a teacher with Special School District and was absolutely shocked when I scrolled through the summer newsletter. I am sickened by the cut of coverage for GLP-1 meds. Every newsletter reminds us to practice self-care. This newsletter sent over the summer, maybe so not as many people will read it, made an announcement that a life-changing medication is not going to be covered starting in January, which is probably one of the worst ways to start a day over my summer break. I just don't understand how the Board of Education can take away from staff in good conscience. How? How can you take away a medication that doctors have prescribed? Medical decisions should not be made based on money and what others think should be covered. This is literally sickening. I am extremely disappointed and disgusted at this decision. This medication is made to be long-term, not a quick fix. There needs to be other options to cover it that can be considered. I think a great compromise would be to increase the copay so that we pay a little more, but instead you just pulled the carpet out from under us and dropped us. I have given my entire career to SSD and the students it serves, and this is how they treat me. I am just sick over this. I put in all the work. I met with a dietitian, worked with a health coach, go to the gym, which we also have to pay for, and this medication was the key for my body. It's what it needed. I have PCOS, and therefore my body does not process sugars properly, and weight management is a huge struggle. I eat healthy and work with my doctors to do what is best. The doctor prescribed this medication, and I just don't understand how you are taking away something that is medically recommended. Offering us online health support is not the same thing and is a waste of money. This was not the cut that was needed. Please reconsider this decision and look at other ways to make the cost manageable. The next is from Jennifer Hyatt. Board of Education members, I would like you to reconsider taking away the GLP-1 benefits. As someone who benefited from this to reach a healthy weight, I can attest to the other benefits. No longer having prediabetes, no longer having high cholesterol, no longer having thyroid concerns. This alone is a savings the district hundreds, this alone, excuse me, is saving the district hundreds upwards to thousands of dollars in medical appointments and medications. Instead of preventing and treating the problems potentially caused by obesity, by taking away this medication, you are saying prevention and money is less important than treatment. Many of us don't or won't get maternity coverage, yet that is something you cover. While I do think this should be covered, again, not everyone benefits. Not everyone benefits from GLP-1, but again, it costs a lot less than other illnesses caused by obesity. Will you cover gastric surgeries, but not a preventative, less invasive option? Give us some autonomy in our benefits enrollment. Let us choose a level in coverage. Please reconsider this before open enrollment. Keep those of us healthy who have chosen this opportunity. Thank you for your consideration. And the last is from Paul Kaufman. Good evening, distinguished Board of Education members. I am submitting this public comment to be read tonight regarding Agenda Item 4.01 District Benefits. Specifically, I wish to address the decision by the district to have an insurance plan that ceases to cover GLP-1 treatments. In late 2018, after I began seeing a respected endocrinologist, Dr. George Thampy, to address a medical issue, and after nearly 5 years of unsuccessful therapies, Dr. Thampy referred me to Dr. Paulina Cruz Bravo of Washington University. After running additional tests and discussing treatment options, Dr. Bravo advised that I begin taking Wegovy, a GLP-1 medication. Finally, I started seeing positive results. However, upon learning that the district's decision to change insurance providers and that GLP-1 treatments would no longer be covered in January 2026, I became very concerned. In SSD Connections, it was announced that there would be alternative therapies that our new plan would cover besides GLP-1s. I showed the list of those medications to Dr. Bravo, which included Contrave, Quizmia, Lomira, Phentermine HCl, Phendimetrazine, Tartrate ER, Ali, and Adipex P. She said, I believe those drug therapies were developed in 2013 or 14. They are not nearly as effective as Wegovy, Ozempic, or Zepbound. They don't even attack the same hormone that the GLP-1s do. I asked her if she would prescribe any of those medications to individuals, given their effectiveness versus current GLP-1s. She said she would not if those other therapies were available. This is the feedback from a respected medical professional. In the most recent SSD Connections newsletter, the district claimed that continuing to cover GLP-1s would cost $4.1 million, and they could not afford that expense. However, according to the presentation that Cindy Ryland gave the Board of Education on July 22nd, she reported that the district was tracking $8.5 million under budget for employee benefits for fiscal year 24-25, as well as coming in $12.2 million under budget on salaries. Overall, she reported the district was on track to save $21,895,244 in projected expenses. Given the significant number of teacher-level vacancies currently in the district, that over 200 certified staff members resigned or retired from SSD by the end of 24-25 school year, and there were only 100 certified staff members at the new teacher orientation in late July, perhaps a more effective strategy to recruit and retain staff may be to increase benefits rather than cut them and provide outdated alternatives. Many staff members have approached me to advocate on their behalf, and as their union representative, I also wanted to share my story in the hopes you'd reconsider this present action. Respectfully, Paul Cobb.
The following items, approval of consent items, the following items have been removed from the consent agenda for discussion and our action motion to approve all remaining items. Before I ask for a motion to approve the consent items, I want to take a moment to make the following public statement regarding any of the language changes contained within the policies presented here tonight and the regulations issued at the July 22nd board meeting. After federal guidance were issued, MSBA and our legal counsel reviewed existing policies and regulations to ensure they were in compliance with these issuance. The changes are not to anything student related, and all changes are regarding purchasing and procurement. Special School District is and will continue to be fully committed to its foundational core values of equity, commitment, and collaboration. Do I need to read that already? Is there a motion to approve the consensual items?
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion to approve the consent item carries. We have superintendent reports, proceed now.
Great, thank you, President Meeks. Tonight, the board will receive 3 reports. First, Chief of Human Resources, Dr. Tina Lyles will be conducting a benefits review.
Good evening. Good evening, President Meeks, Vice President Cuneo, Board Directors, Superintendent Macklin, members here in person, and our community members here in person and on live stream. I'm Katina Lyles, Chief Human Resources Officer. And with me, I have Scott James, who is the Vice President of Public Entities and Academic Institutions with Marsh & McLennan. He's for some questions. Tonight, I will be doing our insurance and benefits update and talk a bit about the carrier changes. So tonight I'll talk about why there was a change, how the change came about, and what that insurance partnership will entail. So we have 3 focuses with writing the ship this year, and the one most closely aligned with this is the non-wage cost containment. So when we were reviewing our expenses, and at the point we were at our triennial, we have every 3 years plus 2-year extension. So about 5 years in, we were at the point where we were looking at bids for the upcoming year with respect to insurance. So knowledge cost containment was on the table at that point, and it was an appropriate time for us to consider what we were looking at. So this visual will show the timeline that applies to the third-party administrator and our pharmacy benefits manager, or PBM. So this is the timeline. So as you can see, in the month of February, there was a release of bid solicitations, so to go out for bid. We also had those intent to quote, so those who are coming in to say we have intent to quote and are requesting specific data. And then after that, our data was due to them. In the month of March, there was a deadline to submit any questions. And then those responses to those questions were returned to those who were bidding. And then there was a proposal deadline in March, on March 25th. In April, the RFP, or the response to proposal results, were in. And then in May, as you can see, the 1st and 5th were finalist interviews for Anthem CVS and Anthem Carolina. So those, on June 24th, those decisions came to the board. And so any changes that we had came on June 25th. And it was to have Anthem to provide our medical coverage, to have CVS Caremark to manage pharmacy, and then have Health Equity manage our flexible spending accounts and health savings accounts. At that time, we highlighted the rates and anticipated savings for the district. And this was to be effective January 1st of 2026. So with respect to supporting staff during this transition, one of the key pieces for us was that there be no increases in deductibles for the PPOs or our SSD staff. with respect, now that's in excess to any IRS requirements, so your high deductible health plans do have, that's regulated by IRS. But outside of that, that was our expectation, that there'd be no increases in deductibles. We also have encouraged staff and will continue to encourage staff to look at the doctor's Anthem's doctor database. Currently, all the way up through the time that you would go for an appointment to confirm that your physician is or is not in their network. If we take a look back at 2024 claims, which is what was used for bids, 98.5% of SSD's medical claims that were made in 2024 would have been in Anthem's network, and 96.3 prescriptions filled by our members in 2024 would have been on the CVS formula. We also submitted some communication on August 15th to all staff, so it outlined more information about this change and also what was to come. And we will continue to have communication in development, as well as when open enrollment occurs in October, there will be consistent communication. So as I said before, the 98.5%, so the disruption rate for Anthem is 1.5%. There is an increase in cost in dependent coverage, which is estimated at 6.1. Had we stayed with Aetna, the increase would have been 12.3%. On high deductible health plans, of course, as I stated before, that will be set by the IRS. Disruption rate with respect to pharmacy, our pharmacy benefits manager is 3.7%. And we talked about CVS obviously will work with our patients directly if there is a disruption. So there will be communications that go out, there'll be contact with those employees so that they are able to walk them through the process. An example I give here is 320 of the disruptions are due to one brand of albuterol. So there is an alternative by different manufacturers. So it's not that albuterol wouldn't exist, but it's a different manufacturer would be available. So they will walk staff through that individually as those disruptions are identified. What questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Compliance Plan Director Susan Henry will present SFD Compliance Plan and General Insurance Document. And Sarah Klein also.
Good evening, President Meeks, Vice President Cuneo, Directors of the Board of Education, Superintendent Macklin. My name is Susan Henry, I'm the Director of Compliance for Special School District. With me tonight is Sarah Klein, our Assistant Director of Compliance. She has, since you're in your fourth year with us, yeah, so she has become an indispensable partner to me in supporting district compliance matters. So I wanted her to join us. So tonight I'm here to speak to you about our local compliance plan and our general insurance documents, an annual thing that I bring to you. The background, IDEA requires that states have in effect policies and procedures for implementing special education that are in line with federal requirements. So to that end, Missouri has developed their own state plan for implementing special education, which is based on federal requirements. Those include all of the requirements for making sure that we're implementing special education compliant manner and that's appropriate for students. In particular, the state plan has Regulation 15, which we'll address in a little bit, but that specifically addresses the regulations and procedures for special school districts in Missouri. So it only applies to us and not one other district down in Bluegill. Cascading further down, DESE also requires that each school district have their own local compliance plan for implementing special education. It's essentially a abbreviated version of the Missouri State Plan, and it has to be approved by the Board of Education for each district that provides special education. Now, in Missouri, all school districts must find and identify all children with disabilities residing within their jurisdiction. And for those students who are identified as eligible for special ed, we have to provide them special education related services, which become a part of their IEP. In areas of Missouri where there's a special school district, the local public school district, or we call them partner districts around here, but in the state plan, they're referred to as component districts. Those districts might provide some special education services, or they might provide none. And in St. Louis County, SSD provides all of the special education services to students age kindergarten to age 21 in 22 component districts. Now, early childhood services are provided by the component districts in 9 districts. We provide the early childhood services in those, the other 13 component districts. So this exercise that we're going through tonight, those school districts that provide early childhood special education have to do this as well. So, since we provide special education to the students in St. Louis County, we're bound by the requirements in Regulation 15, the state plan. So in consultation with that, we, with our partner districts, we need to develop a general assurance document. So it's yet another plan where we identify with our component districts the areas of compliance responsibilities for each district. Once we have agreement on that, each component district will sign an assurance statement that is kind of a further breakdown of that general assurance document, but committing to their part of compliance with the general assurance document. So there are 3 forms of compliance that general assurance document addresses. There's direct compliance, and that's where each district has a direct responsibility for implementing that component of the regulations. There are areas of joint compliance where both districts have to work together to ensure that compliance is met. And then there are areas of separate compliance where each district on their own has to meet those compliance requirements. And an example of that would be with regard to student educational records and maintaining the privacy of those records under FERPA. And so both districts have responsibilities for maintaining compliance with that law. In this blue box, there's a list of some of those activities that are areas of joint compliance between special school district and our component school districts. So things like child find, we have to work together to identify the students in St. Louis County who might be eligible for special education. Jointly, we all have to participate in the evaluation process, in the IEP process. The allocation of instructional resources is a joint process. So if we were to kind of combine all of this into a visual, this kind of represents how we start at the IDEA statute and the regulation and how it cascades down to the Missouri state plan, to our local compliance plan that applies to everybody in Missouri. And then just in St. Louis County, or again, in the Boot Heel and Penobscot County, that general assurance document with our policies and procedures that apply just to our partner districts and ourselves. So unusually, this year, we do not have to approve the state plan. Normally when DESE makes changes to the state plan, school districts have to make changes to their local compliance plan and have you approve it again. This process that DESE goes through is a months-long process. They make public notice of it. They ask for public input into the new state plan. And then by usually mid to late July, they notify us of those changes. And then we have until October 1st to present them to you and seek approval of our new local compliance plan. But for the second year in a row, DESE has not made any changes to the state plan. So the state plan that we approved in 2023, that we maintained last year when there was no changes, we're maintaining again this year, because there are no changes at this time. We're still maintaining a link to our local compliance plan in the partnership agreement. So we make sure that the partnership agreement addresses some of the components of the local compliance plan to remind our partner districts about the joint compliance piece. We do anticipate there was some changes to special education with regard to the eligibility category of young child with a developmental delay in Senate Bill 68 that was passed by the Missouri legislature this year. And so the latest we have from DESE is that they are going to update the state plan at some point this year, but we don't have directive yet if they are going to require us to approve a new local compliance plan mid-year, or if they'll have us do it next summer at about this time. So it's kind of a wait and see, stay tuned. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have a question. What if the partnering districts don't meet the joint compliance agreement?
Well, there are methods by which we are identified as being out of compliance. One might be a file review. DESE has on a triennial basis, they evaluate school districts and certain cohort groups for their compliance with user estate plan. And when they find areas of non-compliance, they'll order the districts to do corrective actions. And those corrective actions might include taking some actions with the partner district. It might be training, it might be corrections to IEPs, those sorts of things. There are also, parents have the opportunity to file, really anyone in the community can file a child complaint if they feel that there's an area where the district has been non-compliant for a particular student. And DESE will identify both the partner district and SSD in those matters. We'll do an investigation, and if there's areas of correction that are needed, both districts will be responsible for making those corrections. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Yes. Next, Dr. Molly Bolton and Dr. Matt Trauber will discuss the district's key level performance review.
Good evening, President Weeks, Board of Directors, Dr. Mecca. My name is Molly Bolton, and I am the Chief of Teaching, Learning, and Accountability. And tonight we're here to talk to you about the key performance indicators, which we often refer to as KPIs. So this presentation is really going to highlight what we've identified as our district level key performance indicators. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about the decision-making process that we use to come up with these, as well as a protocol for us as a district leadership team to review this done. So a little bit of background, actually a lot of background. We initially identified under Dr. Paul Bauer some of our key performance indicators that we felt were important as a district. And that work started back in 2021 and 2022. With that, it was just at that high level what some key performance indicators we might look at. Then in school year 2022-2023, we developed an internal team where we really started looking at, okay, if we have this data, what would be an appropriate way to display it so that we can consume it well and make decisions. Then in 23 through 25, we really spent a lot of time digging in and defining the metric, as well as where would we get the data from. We also built a proof of concept using Power BI to then put that data in to make sure it was consumable and usable. And so you do have, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, you do have an extra handout called Key Performance Indicator Measurement Details Documentation Template. And that is the template that we use really to help operationalize many of the key performance indicators that we have identified. This has a very, very strong connection to our CSIP and our strategic plan as a whole, but specifically to strategic plan strategy 1, where we're really looking at those database systems, as well as developing our skills as administrators to really use the data for improving our student performance and our effectiveness as a district. I always have problems with the clicker, no matter what clicker it is. I apologize. All right, and so we also wanted to highlight for you the use of the KPIs and how that's really going to help us as a district look at improvement. So first of all, it does help us with oversight. If these are key performance indicators, then we're looking at how are we doing as a district. Secondly, it really also helps us prioritize different initiatives and different actions that we may need to take as a district as we're looking at how we're doing on those key performance indicators and if there are cause for celebrations as well as cause for improvement. We also know, and hopefully by defining these with that detailed template, that we're able really to look at data quality and consistency, and ensure that everyone is defining the key performance indicator in the same way and understand what we're looking at as we look at those things. It will also ensure that we can develop that knowledge of how to look at trends within our data and how these key metrics are formed and come about. And it really helps us as we review this data regularly to see trends and know if we need to make adjustments or we need to keep on the same path that we're going. And ultimately, it's going to help us be more effective and ensure that we have positive impact upon our student achievement. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Charles to talk a little bit more about the processes.
So it's always helpful to have a process or protocol anytime you review data. What you see here is the protocol that's been developed for our leadership team to review these KPIs. This is actually an adaptation of tools that we provide to our school-based staff to use in student-centered teams. So you can see parallels across those two levels of the organization. Each KPI has been assigned an individual quote-unquote owner among the leadership team, and it's the owner's responsibility to guide discussion with the team through this protocol. So the key steps of this protocol are really one, understanding the data, understanding what it is you're looking at with regard to performance and trends. Number two will be generating hypotheses around why the result you see is occurring. And then the third is just formulating action steps around the KPIs when it's called for. It can also be helpful to have at your disposal, at the ready, various cues or prompts for reviewing data. And some of those cues that we developed for this process are shown on this slide. These cues are also embedded into most of the pages of the data dashboard. So this list does include some cues around what I referenced earlier for inferencing, developing hypotheses, formulating actions, but it also has some cues around prioritization. So you're certainly going to run into sometimes where you may have several KPIs that are not at the level you want them, and you have to make some decisions about what you're going to address soon or now versus what might be put on the back burner. So the next 3 pages of the slideshow lay out the current list of KPIs that we have. So we group these into several categories. That would be compliance, engagement, stewardship, student outcomes, and workforce. So you can see on this slide that student outcomes comprise the largest proportion of our KPIs, as you might expect. We also have a fair number of KPIs related to workforce. So these would be KPIs that look at trends like teacher and para attrition, the extent to which teachers are out of the classroom for various reasons, as well as our vacancies. So what you see here is just an example page from the KPI report or dashboard. So this is created in a software called Power BI. Power BI is a business analytics software that's part of the Microsoft suite. So a nice feature of using that, a convenient feature, is that we can easily share these reports with anyone in the organization by providing a link. So these reports do have multiple pages, each devoted to one of the categories referenced earlier. This is just an example of one page. You can see that each KPI has its own visualization in the form of a line chart there. Each KPI is also accompanied by a description of the data, which helps us with a common understanding and helps those who might view this who may not be familiar with that particular data type to get a rudimentary understanding of it just by that description. You can also see that those data prompts are embedded into the slide at lower right. The horizontal line of those charts represents a proposed target or expectation for the results. So our DLT is the process of determining what appropriate targets would be for each one of those KPIs. So looking forward, in the short term, obviously this is a new tool, a new process. There's always going to be a learning curve when we introduce something like that, but the hope is that over time it just becomes integrated into what we do in business as usual. We do want to regularly revisit our list of KPIs as priorities may change or as district initiatives occur or new data become available. So an example of that might be something like our teacher caseload initiative. So right now, a teacher caseload metric is not on our KPI list, but maybe in the future it would make sense to include it. We'd also like to have a little bit more capability in the future to drill into data when it makes sense to, so to be able to look at, for each KPI right now is really at the district level views, but we may want to look more closely at different segments of the organization and how they contribute to that outcome, things like that. Although it does include links to other platforms or tools that you can use for those drill down purposes. Sorry. So then I think longer term, we do really want to continue to grow at our ability to use data in a proactive manner. So we want to be able to detect earlier and earlier when we think a result is falling off track from where we want it to be. We also, to use a technology term, we want these dashboards or reports to become more programmatic or automatized. So right now, even though those numbers do appear in the online platform, it is a pretty manual process to get those on that page. So like that. Questions, you
I have a comment. I just appreciate the cues. I think anytime folks have to look at data, giving them cues, like data can be intimidating. Folks having those prompts can build their confidence and start to ask more critical questions as they dive in, and I'm excited about the visualizations.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was really interesting. You know, we have a variety of situations where we have kids in pain building, we have kids in partner building. And it looks like to me in our tech schools, you know, we have 2 different tech schools that have different programs. And it looks to be from your presentation that we can actually curtail each of these dynamics into this reporting process. So they can actually choose, okay, which thing measures us best. And that way we can really get a true feeling of what is working here in this particular school, what isn't working. And so when you're talking about drilling down, it looks like we have a little bit of capacity there. Just overall as a district to look at, hey, where's each of our programs throughout a variety of situations, which to me is very exciting that we get a handle on that. We're really looking at what's working, what isn't working.
Can we use this to come up with best practices? Especially when I was trying to think of not just where we have failures. I'd like to know when all of a sudden something's exceeding. Why does it exceed in that school area? Why does it exceed, for example, for teacher fill rates? In other words, maybe why is it so effective that we have all the teachers we need in this district as opposed to another? And then maybe find out why. I mean, that seems to me the way we could come up with some best practices.
Yeah, and I think this data will help us look at the overall picture, but then definitely drilling down through the questions. It's like that. Awesome.
Thank you so much for the presentation. This is the kind of thing that I think is really so valuable for us as a board. You know, performance data, I think the more we see it, the more we understand how to support the requests that we receive for programming and staffing and budget. So if we know what's going on, we can support everything in a much more robust way. So having these indicators presented to us regularly, would be very beneficial, I think. So thank you. I've got a couple of questions too, and as we do develop a dashboard, I saw 2 years of data. In the past, I have found it helpful to find more, to see more than 2, maybe 3, between 3 and 5. Because all of us who've been in education for any length of time know that there can be just a really strange year in there somewhere. And so, are we where we were 2 years ago, or is this a complete blip, or are we trending up or down? So, I think having 3 to 5 years of data is something I'd like us to think about. And then my final question for you is, the relationship between the key performance indicators and the Missouri School Improvement Program 6 and SIP 6. Are those connected?
Yes, if you look at many of the indicators that are referenced there, especially in the student performance area, but also in the climate area, those are directly from our accreditation.
So very familiar. Yes, and so we're walking the 2 documents hand in hand.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And with the 3 to 5 years, absolutely, we feel that way as well. And that's one of the reasons why we spent a lot of time defining the metric. And so when you see it, we do hope some of our data that is in the dashboard is more frequent, some of it's annual data. But our hope is to have that 3 to 5 year, so you can really, to your point, really look at trends, because 1 to 2 years doesn't give you that.
Thank you very much.
And with that, you will, in your Friday packet, this week, be getting a memo that will allow you the access to the dashboard, so you guys will be able to go on. I will also be presenting, when I do the strategy and CSIP updates, KPIs will be a part of that presentation moving forward. So you'll get it quarterly.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you.
I think another thing, one thing that Dr. Bolton noted, and also in Kevin Andrews' presentation, he see the correlation between KPIs and the proposed innovation lane. So those pieces strongly align, which is really the key as we move forward.
Great one.
Thank you.
We have action items, the board will take up action items, 5.91, the FY 26 budget adjustment. Is there a motion to approve?
So approved, so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 5.02, additional nurse position. Is there a motion to approve the additional nurse positions?
So.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, Board of Education business meeting, is coming to we'll have a closed meeting, the Board of Education, on Tuesday, August 26th. At the conclusion of this regular business meeting, also, on Thursday, August 28th. 2025, I now ask if there a motion to hold those closed meetings, the Board of Education on Tuesday and Thursday.
So moved.
Second.
We'll discuss legal actions, cause of action, or litigations involving the district and any confidential or privileged communications between the district or its representatives and its attorneys, hiring, firing, disciplinary, and promoting any employee of the district, and individually identifiable personnel records, performance ratings, and records pertaining to employees or applicants for employment. And we have a second. I apologize. All in favor?
Aye. Oh, wait a minute.
So.
We have to.
We have to roll.
That's on the roll call.
This one.
Yep.
I'm just on a roll reading.
That's it.
No.
No problem.
Can I get a roll call?
Director Beaver. Director Suda.
Yes.
Director Sartorius.
Yes.
Director Nelson.
Yeah.
Director Asner.
Yes.
Vice President Cuneo.
Yes.
President Meeks.
Yes. All right, the motion to approve, holding closed meetings of the Board of Education carries, 6.02 Board Communication. Any boards wishing to make any comment?
I was out and about in the community this past week with everybody getting ready for school, going to their open houses, and I just wanted to say what a wonderful job, that, all the special school district employees had been doing across the board in Parkway, in the buildings that I lived in, but especially, I want to say thanks to the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program, because I did note that there were a lot of the teachers for the deaf as well as interpreters that were there making sure at the open houses that the students were getting to have some FaceTime, and also like on the extra days to walk through their schedule, they were getting that. So thank you so much to that program and the extra mile that they're going to prepare our teachers and our students.
Yeah, by all accounts, the school year is off to a great start, so welcome everybody to the new year. I came at the end of July for the Special School District Health Fair, and it was really just great to walk around and see all of the resources that are available to our staff, just to have really a real wealth of information. So thank you for holding that and allowing me to participate. And Dr. Macklin and I attended 2 opening ceremonies together. I know he's done quite a few more than 2. I attended the Normandy Convocation on August 4th and the School District of University City opening day on August 12th. And both of those were just full of energy and enthusiasm for a new school year. It's just a great feeling. And one last announcement, I think a lot of you know I'm on the Character Plus board. Character Plus has acquired character.org, which really allows character education to take place across the country, and SSD is a user of Character Plus, and this will really benefit all of us. So it's an exciting time for Character Plus. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I want to say the same thing. Like, I've heard so many great things from teachers who are excited about the school year, and one thing I that stood out to me was they were like, even if partner districts are trying to figure out things, one thing the SSD administration has done is they listen to our teachers, they make teachers feel confident, and they answer questions. SSD teachers are just going and feeling really confident, no matter where they are. And so thank you all for the work that you do. I also want to share a really exciting opportunity for teachers. So my organization has partnered with AT&T to do some technology education. And so this is a free opportunity to 3rd through 8th grade teachers, or those who do any tech-based work, and participating in 4 sessions for learning. They get to do some projects for themselves. It can be anything from 3D printers to learning how to use Google Docs. And then you can get up to $1,000 in free technology. So there are teachers that maybe want to be a part of it. We have about 60 open seats right now still. So any teacher that wants to learn anything about technology, it is just an opportunity for AT&T to educate teachers, and they can get access to free tech. Any other comments? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
At 6:34. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?